Hey y'all, it's Metaluna coming at you with some Omega energy. Now, yesterday I was on, today I'm on. I'm so proud of myself. I'm gonna tell you one of those things that I've had always kind of struggled with. First of all, being A type person, you know, most people that's like a person who's always gotta be achieving something to feel like they've accomplished goals or met some kind of benchmark all the time, and they have difficulty resting and tend to be overworkers or workaholics. That's always kind of been myself. And then at some point, at least in the last couple of years, I realized something about that. It's not that I am doing the most because I have the ability to do the most, and therefore I am helping myself or anyone else more than I would be just doing things in a balanced way. Is that I'm doing the most so that I can deal with those, I don't have to deal with those feelings of vulnerability sometimes that I experience just being inside of my head. If y'all don't know, I am an Aquarius, and overthinking is like an Olympic sport for me. Okay, and most air signs are this way, and the air signs are Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini. So if there's something that happened 5 years ago, every now and again, when we have free space, when I say free space, we're not working, creating, planning, those things will come up and you're like, well, where did that come from? I don't feel like thinking about that or dealing with that. And it's the reason why we overthink. Air signs, pay attention. One of the reasons why you're overthinking, this is just one of many, okay, is because of a lack of identifying the emotional triggers that need to be healed in the wounds. And so when you don't do that thing, you tend to overthink solutions to problems that are no longer occurring because you haven't dealt with the wounds. At least that's been my, experience of other signs that I've dealt with, okay? And when I say dealt with, I mean in a personal way as well as professional. So understanding that maybe some of that overthinking could be turned down a little bit if you actually identify the vulnerable parts of yourself. That's like, okay, so why are you doing that? Oh no, I'm doing this because it's me. I'm doing me. That's a lot of the air signs go to. I am doing me. Yeah, that's all well and good, but maybe that thing that happened 5 years ago wouldn't come up for you again if you just allow yourself to be like, that's a battle I'm not gonna win. It's a battle that's done. That's a battle that hurt me, or that person did this to me and I wasn't able to destroy them. Or not that I was trying to, it's like for me personally, and this is my go-to, I destroy you by leaving you right where you had me messed up at. Like, no, I know I'm a good person. So me leaving, completely cutting it, deleting everything, you don't exist. I have a whole funeral in my head. And that has been my go-to modum operandi. Like, okay, that person just literally died to me. Like, you died at a funeral. I even cried a little bit at your funeral in my head. But did I actually deal with the wound that you gave me? Nah, that part is crucial and important. To deal with the wound that was actually given you. And that's one of those things that I think more recently that I've been becoming a pro at. Dealing with the wound so that it's not continuously affecting my emotional output in some way, shape, or form. Like, I had friends that I was like this with, and I just like the wounds that I got from those circumstances with my friends were so deep and so brutal, at least to me. Didn't realize that they also triggered healing within me. So in a lot of ways, it's like dealing with those circumstances, it proved to me, even though I was already studying this process, how we effectively run into the same types of energies over and over again until we resolve and heal some part of that aspect. And I know a lot of light workers, people in spiritual community will tell you, well, that same person gonna come back again for y'all to work y'all shit out and go on about your business or do whatever you're going to do. It's not necessarily true that way. Because what you'll end up doing is someone who's just like your mother, if you have mother wounds, someone whose personality is similar to hers will come into your reality and do the same shit she did with all the good and the bad attached. But now you have the opportunity here in this circumstance with this person to work out self-reliancy, lack of codependency, figuring out how to use your voice and your throat chakra properly when necessary. And one of the things that's a fail-safe for me when I realize these energies are happening again for whatever reason, I didn't resolve all of it, so here it is again. Let's do this, I guess. Is if I become angry. Becoming angry, I'm all for the divine rage every now and again, because I feel like if you've met your limit, you've met your limit, and I've met mine a few times in my life. You got to do what you got to do to get that on out, and do the least harm while you're doing it. I think I mastered that particular skill. I'm gonna be honest with you. Just a little pat on my back, because I use my words more often than I use these, which tells me I have grown a lot. Anyway, but if I get to a place of anger, two things that I've stopped and reflect on once I get to a place of anger, the anger just happens and I just let it happen. It's a valid emotion, so I just let it happen. But once I get to that place of anger and I've settled down a little bit, I allow myself to reflect. I literally take the time. Okay, I was angry today. Identify the emotion. Why did I get angry? Because how many times did you allow this person or this situation to steal your joy? How many times did you allow them to cross a boundary before you said it was enough? Or you waited until you got mad and then set a firm boundary? Why did you do that? Case in point, I had a recent situation. Every now and again, y'all know, I like to bring my personal life in here because I'm an open book. I'm not ashamed of no parts of who I am, okay? I have an uncle who I love very, very dearly, who's also an Aquarius, okay? Now, I've been doing this work, light work, for many, many years before I owned my own business, okay? And so I've had some emotional struggles in that time. I've had financial struggles in that time. I've had ups and downs in all kinds of ways you can imagine, okay? But all I've ever asked of anyone is just to give me a little support. Even if it's just to like a post, watch a video like this. They choose to want to donate, they can donate. Now, part of what I do is charitable. I see kids for free, teach them coping skills. Those who have little anxious issues or ADHD, I educate their parents about any levels of that they'd like to be educated about, as well as give them resources and different skill sets. And sometimes teach them astrology, because it's something they can focus their little minds on whenever they're feeling anxious at certain times. They get their mind off of whatever the anxious activity is at that moment. Stuff like this. But that part of what I do is for free. Okay? And so he never asked me about it. But I also do energy work, in which I am teaching about how energy works, teaching about the chakras, teaching about the ancient history of Egypt and our real royal roots in the skin folk community. Okay? Things that weren't necessarily taught in my history books, that's being more illuminated in the collective nowadays. I'm teaching about tarot, I'm teaching about astrology. But I always caution people with tarot, just as a side, that it's supposed to be used, at least in my assessment, in a healthy way to help guide your thoughts, not create them. In other words, if you have a specific outcome in mind before you start shuffling them cards, guess what you're going to see, that outcome. Or you're afraid of one, that's what you're going to see. Okay? So have your energy in some kind of balanced state before you even pick up a deck. And that's what I teach my students all the time. But that's just an aside. Either way, I'm not the only one who has struggled with this, so I'm just going to open the door for it. I was raised in a church, Christian, non-denominational, okay? Baptized in there and everything. But see, when I was younger, please bear with me. When I was younger, I'll say about 12 years old, I got baptized because I started to question things that I was being told, question activities that was going on. Like, it don't even make sense. Like, I sit there and it sees a mark of adulthood to be able to participate in communion. And I wanted to do it so bad because I just wanted to be grown so fast. But it was also like just to be a part of it, right? But once I got baptized and I started taking communion, it didn't make sense. I started to pay attention more in church because I was communicated with by my Sunday school teacher at that time. When I would ask questions, he would tell me that was not of God, those types of questions, maybe dig deeper into the Bible, or he would tell me his go-to phrase was, I'll get back to you on that. And then he would never get back to me on my questions. So I naively thought that if I got baptized, I would know what they knew, and I started taking communion, I would know what they knew, and I wouldn't have so many questions. Silly girl. By the time I was baptized, I didn't feel any different. I didn't think any differently. Okay, so if I start taking communion a few weeks, then I'll start thinking differently, start seeing things the way they see it. No, I didn't. Actually, I had more questions. Like, if we're revering Jesus and we're saying we respect this guy, then why are we pretending to be vampires and cannibals every Sunday? It's like, if I love someone, I'm not going to, after their death, pretend to eat them and drink their blood. That, for me, gave me nightmares. It was actually kind of horrific, and I didn't feel like safe enough to share that with anyone. Okay? And certainly not with this uncle I'm speaking of, because he was very, very, very staunchly into the church. Every time the doors opened, he was in there, and he had us in there. Okay? And he was doing the best he could, given some very, very difficult circumstances. This man was my rock my whole life. He's always been there for us, without question. Every funeral, if I was looking for a smile because I needed it, he had one for me. You understand? That's made it more difficult to deal with. Okay? So, moving that forward, more recently, once he started seeing, because I post on social media on my own platform, plus both businesses, and just started on TikTok. So he started seeing some of the things I'm posting about spirituality and astrology and things. And so he decided to bring it upon himself to start blowing up my phone with Bible quotes and spiritual quotes. I guess trying to save my soul. I don't know. So I would ask him, why are you doing this? He wouldn't respond. He would just, and so I'm like, okay, the intuitive that I am a gifted intuitive, and I'm not ashamed of it. I have extrasensory abilities, including clairvoyance, telepathy at times, depends on the person if they're strong enough, things of this nature. I have all these on board, okay? So I got to understand that he thinks he's saving my soul, or that I'm somehow possessed by a demon or whatever. So he just started to just send me more and more stuff. I'm like, this man loves me. He thinks he's saving me. I can't bring myself to set a boundary here. I just can't, because he really does love me, and he really does think he's saving my soul. What do you do in that circumstance? I absolutely did not know. But then, as I spoke of earlier, childhood wounds started coming up. Ooh, and he didn't even realize he was doing it. It was time for me to deal with that stuff, I guess. And one of the childhood wounds I had was, when I was younger, I always had this gifted and talented thing when it comes to my intellect, but my behavior was like that of a feral child. So people didn't know how to take me. It was like, either she gonna get the wise, beyond her years, super intelligent, orally gifted version of Sidonia, or you gonna get this feral child that just, would do anything at any time. Nobody knew how to take me, okay? So there are moments where I really just wanted to be chill, settled. But then people would come up and test that knowledge and constantly expect me to be on all the time. Show them how smart you are. Family members, teachers, all of this. And I'm like, sometimes I just want to be a kid. So sometimes I just act up just so they can leave me the hell alone. But then they had a backfiring effect of sometimes people just treated me like I was a feral child. Or they talk about me in front of my face like as if I didn't have feelings. And I never fully felt validated when I was growing up. When I would get awards and stuff like that, none of my family would show up. And I'm like, I just got an award from my writing from the governor of the state I'm living in right now, and none of y'all showed up. I don't get it. What was y'all doing? In the bed? Why? Why is nobody here? I just threw honestly, that particular time, I threw the award in the garbage. And it broke my heart because it didn't mean anything to anybody if it didn't mean anything to me. I didn't even know I was getting it. But the fact that I got it and nobody was there and they were notified upset me. And so he brought up stuff like that. What happened all the time, he brought up stuff like that when he was doing this to me because, like I said, what he didn't know is I am seeing people for free, giving them resources to help them all the time. When I've experienced within the church myself, not having those things as resources, and knowing that the church is supposed to be a beacon of light and a safe haven for people to be able to get help and some kind of wellness from that experience. But that wasn't my experience. So here I am helping people, sometimes struggling to do so. You ain't offer to donate once or ask me really what it is I do, just so you can start sending me messages. And I was like, I don't know what to do right now. I sent it with love, sent them hearts. That's fine until it wasn't. And then boom, I blew up. I couldn't deal. Now, did I go off on him? No, I just blocked him. But honey, on social media, I was about to rip the entire church a new asshole because there are things about organized religion that is common knowledge at this particular point that is really some hypocritical stuff that we need to iron out. Am I saying that church is bad for everybody? Some people it actually helps and comforts. Go ahead, do you, boo-boo. But let's not pretend that everything about it has been good for the collective. And so in that moment, all I could think of, he's a hypocrite. You forget all the good he did. I forgot all the good he did in my life. I forgot all the ways in which he's been a rock to me, all those things. I was just dealing with those hurt feelings and anger and all those things and about ready to lash out. Now this is the point where the feral child and the intellectual got together was like, and it happens to me from time to time. It was like, honey, let's wild the hell out. Because I am about to come at you with all these different books that have been taken from the Bible, the book of Enoch, the book of Mary Magdalene, all these things. You think that the Bible ended at Revelations when it did not. And it's like, why would I red pill these people who are getting some semblance of peace out of this? Because I'm angry. Nah, here's the point. When I realized where I was, and I was about ready to red pill all them old folks that don't mean me no harm. Like, nah. Sit down for a second with this sad, what's really bothering you? And that's what I realized, is the wounds of abandonment and feeling of lack of support from people who I care about with support, regardless of what their belief structure are. And I always felt, at least growing up and even in my adult life, that there are people who've been around me and I've loved very deeply. They're only here for me, for what I bring to them. And this moment they feel like I no more value to them in some kind of way, shape, or form. They just kind of go off and do their own thing when it's convenient for them. But when it's actually really time to stand their ground and be a support force for me, it's been very, very hard for me to find that in people. Now I've learned to give that to myself, but doesn't mean that don't hurt, because it does. It does hurt. And this is a message for all empaths or people who in the light working community. One, a lot of us have those religious wounds. Now, I never brought my kids to church personally. I taught them to be well-rounded children, decent human beings, not harmful to themselves and other people, tenets of the golden rule, things of this nature. This seemed to work out very well. And natural healing properties of themselves, things like this. But doesn't mean that they didn't experience that in some way, shape, vicariously through other people who are in that modality of living still. I'm here saying, I understand, I get it, you are loved. And that I am personally still struggling with that. Because sometimes it is, for me, a choice between setting a boundary and hurting someone you really love and your own personal safety, emotional security. Because I have, and I've been very honest and open about it, a very, very vicious shadow self. And when I say vicious, It's because my light self, I've allowed the light to be exhausted because I didn't set a proper boundary. And now the shadows come out and said, okay, you about to like completely extinguish the entire light. So now I got to activate. Go ape shit. Now you're going to clean this up when I'm done because I don't give a fuck about a mess. Because you won't set a proper boundary. So finally I've learned to set more proper boundaries. At least I thought, until I encountered this with my uncle. Because I had such respect for him, deference for him, I allowed him to continue to do that, even while I'm seeing said clients that I'm helping with their spiritual health, emotional well-being, giving resources. Literally on the phone with clients, because I use video. I'm literally on video with clients having messages come through my phone and dinging and making noise. And I haven't fully figured out how to turn that all off without disrupting my signal. So I'm like apologizing, being for me is unprofessional because I haven't set a boundary with this man. Now, I did say stop it at one point. Why are you doing this? What's going on? We had a little conversation and all he did was argue with me about what the Bible says and what the Bible doesn't say. So I'm just like, I don't even know how to do this. And I'm learning. One of the things is I don't have to explain myself to anyone, including those who I revere and respect. You don't get me, you don't get me, you don't get what I'm doing, you don't get what I'm doing. If you're not going to support me, go on about your business. But that was the last little piece I had to learn about that. I guess I didn't realize that was open-ended. I also didn't realize that childhood wound was still there and just ready to be plucked. We're all in a perpetual state of education. It's not always, anybody tell you they finished their healing process and their learning process in this life and they're still doing this? I'll be the first one to tell you they're lying. At any given time, one of them lessons can roll that butt up right up into your face. You can cut people off if you want to, but if you ain't learned a lesson, guess what's going to happen? Somebody else is going to come give you that same one until you figure out a way to get from, not necessarily the anger portion of things, but to become one with yourself in that circumstance and be like, I don't think I want this. And have the strength and discipline to just walk away. And that's first is an act of non-codependence, an act of love for yourself. But here's another key that is very crucial to knowing whether you got the lesson or not. Getting up and walking away without having to strike at them before, during, or after the fact. Because that's all ego, and that's still, the shadow is still active. If you feel like you have to be what they call quote unquote petty after the fact, trust me, I've been petty a lot in my life. A lot. Child is exhausting. Anyway, if you feel like you gotta be petty after the fact, guess what? You're still wounded. And if you feel like you gotta be petty to show people you won, you're still wounded. And until you identify that and figure out ways to heal that, nobody won. Nobody did. You know, appearances is one thing. The truth is another thing. Entirely. And so for me, in this circumstance, how it's going to end, I don't know. Uncle's blocked for right now because I need some space. I really do. I honestly don't know how to undo that, girl. I just have to maybe ask my kids. Once I block somebody, I don't think about how I unblock people. That's it. Here's my ego and a little bit of my shadow self. If you heal yourself and you figured out, your triggers and your whole deal about that circumstance, whatever me and you had to come to tussling about, then you're going to figure out a way to get around my block. I feel like that I haven't matured that part of myself yet. Because I don't unblock people. I just, like I've unblocked friends here and there on social media, but on my phone, no. It's like, I use this for business and communicating with people who are currently in my life and are supportive of me. You want to get around that. You want to get another number. I don't know what to tell you. Because I don't know how to undo it. But again, I'm still a work in progress. And I'm still learning and growing myself. So, like that, I really like to express to anyone out there that's dealing with anything like that emotionally, because we about to come up on this scorpionic energy again. And scorpionic energy is very highly emotionally intelligent as well as blunt. So if there's some things that you need to get off your chest with somebody you love, have a conversation with your shadow self. Try to see where the wounds are at. Figure them out. You ain't got to heal them completely in like a day. But at least identify them before you open your mouth. And this is coming from somebody who opens their mouth or has opened their mouth a lot from wounds. A lot. I was posting the other day on social media. So I had this meme just ready to go for a long time. I didn't know what I was gonna post it on. And it's like from the Jackass movie, the song, if you're gonna be dumb, you gotta be tough. Good thing I'm tough, y'all. Anyway, till next time, you are loved.